Okay, here's another video to help you with your PE responses for the third question from the extracts that you've been looking at. It's a tough question, focused on analysis. Here is the mark scheme that I'd like to begin and have a look at. Again, hopefully you've seen this before. I just want to talk about what the 2 bullet points mean and then how we can target a very good mark. The first bullet point is all to do with analysis, basically explanation in our PE. The second bullet point is always all to do with the evidence, the quotations. So again, in looking at this in a bit more detail, analysis of both language and structure. Well, structure is a bit hard for us at the moment. We are just focusing on language to achieve effects and influence readers. So what that means is, can you comment on how the language has an effect? Now, I think the best way to do this is in our development is to focus on keywords. Keywords allow us to look at associations, double meanings, alternative meanings, and they will allow you to look at the effect of what a writer is trying to do and then how that influences and affects a reader. The selection of references is discriminating. What that means is you are not only selecting accurate quotes, you're selecting the best quotes. And I'd also extend that to the keywords. You're not only just picking out any keyword, you are picking out the keyword that you think best fits your analysis that you're trying to convey. The PE checklist that I produced, again, is something that you can try to use before, during, or after your response in terms of what you need to be doing to produce a very good PE paragraph. I want to start with this slide here. It is my PE paragraph. I want to talk through the structure of it and how I wrote it. The question is from extract 3, but it is a different question than you will answer. This is acting as an example, a model of what I want you to do. In this extract, Dorian notices a change in the painting, that it starts to take on his evil, cruel characteristics. The question is, how does the writer use language to show changes in the painting? I'm going to change it from black to colour to start with because I think this may help us structure our paragraph a little bit better. Red is the point sentence, blue is the evidence, and green is the explanation. Now, as you can tell from the colour, green explanation is the most important part of a PE paragraph. That's where all the marks are, really. So that's really what we want to be focusing on. We need a point sentence, and you take words from the question, turn it into a statement, as well as answering the question. So now we begin the evidence and explanation. And this is an example of an embedded quotation. Well, what does that mean? It means that our quote fits neatly into our sentence. In the sense, if it wasn't there, the sentence would still make sense. The phrase suggests still makes sense. It means we don't have to worry about commas. It means we don't have to worry about conjunctions. We don't have to worry about full stops. And it allows us to get to that explanation much quicker, which is where the marks are. Now, I could use the phrase. I could use the quote, the language feature if I knew what it was, metaphor, verb, simile. And I've used suggests here because I want to be less definitive, but I could use shows, means, indicates, implies, possibly reinforces, whatever I choose to use. And then I continue my explanation. Now at this point, this is where many of you would put a full stop and you go on to your next quotation. I want us to just pause there, and instead of writing a full stop, I want us to put a comma, and then can we extend it with a conjunction? It just allows us to develop our analysis. It's the first way and it's the easiest way. A conjunction or even a verb in the ing form, suggesting, reinforcing, would allow us to extend our explanation. The second way is keyword, and this is so important to our analysis. So here again, it's structured the same way as any other embedded quotation, and then I continue my explanation. At this point, I would expect you to maybe go on to the second quote, to add an additional sentence, or you might like to take out another keyword. Again, the structure is exactly the same. I've used also here to link it to what I've said before. And I've got in a language feature here, verb. It does allow us to get a higher mark if we know what the language is called and we can write about it effectively. I then have continued it with quite a long explanation with quite a few conjunctions, but I've tried to fully develop it. Now there are 3 or 4 sentences that explain the first quotation to support my point. I then transition to my next quote, and I've used furthermore a connective to do that, which would suggest that the explanation is going to be the same as before. Not the same words, but I'm not saying anything different. Again, I've got my embedded quotation. I've used the quote rather than the phrase, and I've then explained it. There is no comma conjunction here. Okay, might not fit. Here though, if we have a look, I have extended it with a keyword, and then I've put an additional sentence for that keyword. Here, I haven't introduced the quote. Now, I haven't because I want to get variation. I don't want to use the phrase again or the quote, so I've done it to get variation. I use reinforces here, like a conjunction there, to join my analysis for this quote with my analysis for the quotes before. And then all I do is I just continue my explanation. Again, with some conjunctions and some additional sentences, and that is how I've put together my paragraph. So again, what you write about is important. Your understanding is obviously important, but how we write it up in the PE paragraph is vital that we're able to communicate any ideas that we've got. So hopefully this will help you with that.